So we've got some interesting news. Downing Street bars Sunday Times journalists from posing questions during coronavirus briefing. So if we scroll down a bit here, Downing Street has reportedly barred the newspaper behind the most prominent criticisms of the government's approach to the coronavirus from asking questions during the daily press briefings. So Sunday Times reporters were reportedly prevented from asking questions at the latest briefing after the newspaper claimed 10 Downing Street sleepwalked into the coronavirus epidemic. We know that certain, I think, five COVID meetings were missed by Johnson, and I think his boy Cummings went in his stead. Cummings was also on the SAGE meetings as well, and that he was also interfering, which is something I've covered in a previous video. He was interfering and interrupting what other people are saying, and I think he was just trying to get a certain narrative within the meetings, and he would go back to Johnson and say, "Oh, this is what happened in the meeting. You know, this stuff ain't important. Enjoy your holiday." Or whatever it is you're doing, cheating on your girlfriend or whatever. Another wrote that at this rate it's only going to be the Nuts magazine. Yeah, this was quite funny. There was this comment here from a German outlet, I think it is. And so he said that it's worth noting that the UK is only 35th in the 2020 World Press Freedom Index behind 16 other countries. It is not something to be proud of and not best in the world. So I do wonder why we're so low down. That's interesting. So Helm also treated, so this is the story I covered the other day about Downing Street trying to get him to edit his piece and the title, in which, you know, there was they did some opinion, they got some opinion polls about people's reaction, kind of their thoughts on how the government's dealt with it, the pandemic, and it's not the best reading wise, but I don't think it's anything to try and censor people over. But we know the government's got form for this. So if we scroll up here, political journalists boycott number 10 briefing after reporter ban. So if we look here, so what happened was certain journalists were put on one side of a rug, and other journalists were put on the other side, and one group were allowed in and one group weren't allowed. And these are journalists the government didn't actually like. So what they did was they moved the usual press briefings, I think, from Westminster to 10 Downing Street so they could vet the people that come in. So when Kane told the banned journalist to leave, the rest of the journalists decided to walk out collectively rather than allow Downing Street to choose who to scrutinise the government. And I feel like, I don't know if Laura Kuenssberg and Robert Peston did this because they felt like they had to, or if they felt like if they were the last two in the room, then it would kind of show us that they are government spokespeople rather than actual journalists who hold politicians accountable and hold their feet to the fire. So ministers have been told not to have lunch with political journalist Dominic Cummings. He's got a load of spies to keep an eye on him as well, so no leaks get out. Broadcasters were also unhappy with Downing Street getting their own camera crew, and that means that they don't need TV networks essentially, which is quite genius in a way. And that's one way of dodging scrutiny, I guess. He's also launched the People's Prime Minister's Questions, where he would get vetted questions. I think one of them was like how he has his tea, and I feel like I remember one question someone asked him, "How do you make your tea?" And he goes, "He puts milk in first," and everyone was like, "You're an idiot. You don't put your milk in first. You just don't do it. You just don't. It's not good. It's how your tea gets cold really quickly." And so he got a bit of stick for that. So you have really milky tea as well, unintentionally. And so he's doing People's Prime Minister's Questions, he excluded the Mirror, the entire any of the political editors from his battle bus during the election because he didn't like their coverage because they claimed that it was not balanced, even though he let the Sun in, which were also not balanced and slightly unhinged. So earlier on Monday, Downing Street also allowed limited access, so this was in February, to Johnson's keynote Brexit speech to one journalist per outlet, which meant some sketch writers who satirised the Prime Minister were unable to attend. Oh, it's phenomenal. And so a lot of, sort of comparisons to Trump in the fact that, he's pulled what Trump did to Jim Acosta, which was to, what Trump's team did was revoke Jim Acosta's press credentials, but they haven't gone as far as that. But they've also said that you're not allowed into this inside number 10 to ask questions, which is incredibly authoritarian and explains why we're so far down in the journalist rankings. or the Press Freedom rankings. And so it shows you how much of a snowflake Johnson and Cummings are. They can't answer a couple of tough questions. These aren't from the hardest hitting journalists even. It's not like it's Noam Chomsky questioning you or Mehdi Hassan. It's people from like the Times and other news outlets. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.